11:70 AM पे वेलकम लिसनर्स, मैं हूं आपके साथ ईरा। शो लेके आए हैं द शाह पिराली लॉ शो। यस, इट्स टाइम वंस अगेन व्हेन वी आर जॉइंड बाय अटॉर्नी शाह पिराली ऑन एयर विद अस. Attorney Shah Pirali is the founder, president and managing attorney of the Shah Pirali Law Group, which is based right here in Newark, California. He is a member of the American Immigration Lawyers Association as well as the State Bar of California. He is a passionate advocate of human rights, civil rights, social action and social services, and he has a strong interest in and knowledge of the political legal system in the US. He formed his law group to work on the causes that he feels most ardently about. इनका जो लॉ ग्रुप है, द शाह पिराली लॉ ग्रुप, ये फोकस करता है इमिग्रेशन लॉ पर, और साथ ही साथ खास करके अगर वो एम्प्लॉयमेंट बेस्ड इमिग्रेशन हो तो. He does help all his clients all over the US. Offices are in Newark, San Francisco and Washington DC. तो कहीं पर भी आप हैं, आपको एक ऑफिस पास में हो सकता है, आप उनसे बात करके जरूर देखिए. The number to call is 510-742-5887. That's 510-742-5887. The website for more information is piralilaw.com. That's piralilaw.com. PERALLYLAW.com. Listeners, remember that the call lines are open. You can even call during the show to speak to Attorney Shah Pirali. कोई भी सवाल आपके पास में है इमिग्रेशन को लेके, आप अभी फोन कर सकते हैं. शो के बीचों बीच बात कर सकते हैं अटॉर्नी शाह पिराली से. स्टूडियो का नंबर है 510-657-1170. 510-657-1170. एंड अटॉर्नी शाह पिराली को वेलकम करते हैं इसी के साथ में विदाउट एनी फर्दर डिले. अटॉर्नी शाह, वेलकम टू द शो. गुड मॉर्निंग.
Good morning, Ira. Good morning to all the listeners. Again, this is, unprecedented times. We are having the show, and next week, hopefully we'll have President-elect Biden become the President of the United States. But before I start, of course, anything I'm going to tell you today is my opinion. You should not act or refrain to act solely on the information provided. You should contact an attorney if you have any questions.
Absolutely.
And yes, and indeed today,
you are still saying that hopefully we have President-elect Biden, and I mean 1 week to the swearing ceremony, and you're still saying hopefully.
Yeah, because so far it has been a rough ride, right? As I expected, right? So we even had a failed coup. For people who don't know, what happened in the Capitol was not just a random protest; it was a coup. It got actually reversed. Luckily for us, I don't know how it reached that point, but it was all planned. If you look at so much information coming out now, we're getting that some of those rioters, or I'll call them terrorists because that's what they are, came even to visit to have a reconnaissance of the place. Some congressmen are involved, etc., and even a Secret Service member, military. You had a whole fifth column kind of getting involved in this. So this was not a simple situation. It was something that I was thinking it might happen, but it did happen. But it didn't happen to the advantage of Trump, luckily. So people were able to stand up, and luckily no congressperson was hurt. But 2 police officers, I think, really are heroes, and 2 of them died really. Unfortunately, I'm not going to say sad for the other people because they came and they looked for trouble, so they deserve it. But for the police officers, and there was 1 police officer who was a hero. So again, this is going to get more are going to come. They're expecting something on Sunday happening, not a protest, but so it is going to be until final. Even after Biden takes power, we should expect some really major things happening. So don't really kind of think things are going to be that smooth. The reason I'm saying all this, so of course, it affects what's going to happen to us as immigrants. But of course, this as U.S. citizens, as people living in this country, green card holders, all our lives are affected by the political situation. And the last few days of Trump has been tough on immigration. If you see the kind of stuff he has been pushing, he has expanded the ban on certain countries. He even made if you look now at the H-1B new rules, he's making it very harder and harder to hire people because they have higher wages that are going to be implemented. I'm going to go into details on that probably on the next show because I have not really, with all the things going on, I didn't have a chance to really dissect that. But the final rule is on the USCIS website. There are many things that are going to change. All the stuff that they tried to pass and didn't go through because the court blocked it, they're trying to pass it again another way. So I'm hoping again another court will block it, and now we have Biden coming. Hopefully he will not fight it, and the whole thing will go back to quote unquote normal. Although normal is not going to be really the norm in the next few years because of the pandemic situation. And again, this is getting really. It's not only we're having political problems, we're also having a huge pandemic really hitting us really bad, especially in California. So hopefully we get out of this and the vaccine helps. God knows if it will help or not at this point. But again, it's a lot of things happening at the same time, and that is going to influence definitely what happens in immigration, because immigration doesn't hold in a vacuum, right? So it will be holding according to what happens on the political side, and the H-1B will be one of the biggest issue because the salaries might be so high that most companies will not be able to hire H-1B people on H-1B, and that's the part which is going to be very, very dramatic for people who are on H-1Bs. So these are the things that we will have to see.
Attorney Shah, we have a caller. Yes, we do have a caller over here. Let's take this call. Hello, you're on air with Attorney Shah Pirali.
Hi. Thanks for taking call.
Yes.
So I have a question. Hello?
Please go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm listening to you.
Sure. Yeah, thank you. I have a question on my H-1B visa. Actually, I have a valid visa till September 2022, and currently I'm in India and I'm working remote for my US employer on US payroll. So my question is how long I can work outside of United States on H-1B on US payroll?
Well, you're not on US payroll anymore, really, because once you leave the country, the H-1B has no value. So even they pay you a different salary, they don't pay you, it's up to them, because you're not H-1B only. Although you have the H-1B on paper, it only becomes effective when you enter United States. Since you are not in United States, you can work remotely as much as you want because US has no jurisdiction in India where you're living. However, the day you enter, you will go back you have to go back to the company, etc., and then they have to pay you whatever the salaries on that H-1B. But at this point in time, you're not really on H-1B the way we understand H-1B. So that's one thing. Now, how long can you be in the payroll? It's up to them. If they don't want to pay you also, that's fine too. You don't lose your H-1B because of that, because you don't have the H-1B status right now. All you have is a stamp and a job offer. When you come back to the U.S., at the airport, they give you your I-94, then you go back on H-1B. So you can pretty much stay for a long time if you want to.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Let me add one thing. Let me add one thing for you. If in case they cancel the H-1B, the 797, you'll have to file another one to come back. Okay? Just make sure. The stamp, you have the stamp, but you need to refile the 797 if they cancel. Okay? All right.
So is there an issue with H-4 EAD also?
Well, there's since the H-1B, as long as the H-1B is alive, the H-4 EAD also is kind of alive. But if the company decides to take away the H-1, the H-4 will go with it.
Okay, it will be not a problem during green card processing also. They may not.
No, not at all. You're outside the country. That's fine.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good luck to you. And before you make anything happen, give me a call at the office. We can discuss it more privately about the little stuff that you need to do to come back. 510-742-5887.
Okay.
Good luck to you.
Thank you very much for calling in.
Bye.
Also, Attorney Shah, since we are already at the H1B conversation of the topic, could you also shed some light on this new rule which is coming up for H1B, the lottery going out the window and, mostly on salary-based system?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was talking about. It's going to be a system of salary, and I have not really dissected the whole thing. Like I said, I am going to kind of go over this probably on the next show because there's a lot of information there, and we don't know how much is going to hold or not. It's already there, so that now it's going to be based on there will be a wage increase and wage level. So, and there will be, like I said, it's if the salary is certain amount, it's not going to go through for unless it is above a certain level. You won't be able to file the H1B with it, which is going to be something very hard because many companies won't be able to afford that. So at this point, there will be no lottery. That's what they're saying. And I have not really dissected the rule. It came out, I think, since, let me see, it came out on it's going to be effective on the end of this month, but it came out like six days ago or something like that.
Yes.
And but I have not really. I've been so much involved into the elections, what's happening, and all the difficulties, and it was a roller coaster. So I have not really dissected that. But I'm hoping. I apologize for that. I'm hoping I will be coming up next week with the details of the new rules, and then we can discuss in more details.
Okay.
Okay. So.
But before that, let me remind everybody that if you also have any questions, if you'd like to get in touch with Attorney Shah, if you want to ask him anything about your immigration case, आप फोन कर सकते हैं अभी स्टूडियो नंबर पर 510-657-1170. That's 510-657-1170. And the office number for an appointment or for a detailed private discussion, call Attorney Shah on the office number 510-742-5887. 510-742-5887. You can get this information and more on the website piralilaw.com. Yes, Attorney Shah, let's continue.
So basically, like you said, there will be the rule is coming. The rule is coming on H1B, and I have not really got into details on it. So I'm going to try to recap that. Probably next week we'll discuss in more details about it. I'm hoping that things will be calming down here in America, so that we can really focus on what is important. Because right now, what is happening is we are having almost a civil war going on. So it is not really it's very hard to really decide how things are going to be. But one thing I know for a fact is many of the rules that have been passed by Trump has been kind of reversed by the court. So we'll see if the situation for H1B becomes really kind of something not going to be make sense. Hopefully there will be some kind of lawsuit that will block it. But again, we have to kind of wait and see. Not wait and see, but I have to kind of dissect it to give you the exact information. I didn't have a chance, and I apologize for that. But definitely the new H1Bs are going to be very different, and some of the rules will probably not be reversed by Biden if it makes sense. So let's wait and see how things are going to unfold in the next 100 days. But in the meantime, next week I'll discuss in more details about these new H1B rules, like the lottery, the high increase in wages, etc., etc. So we'll talk about that next week. Now, having said that, we are, of course, this is Attorney Shah Pirali. We are discussing about immigration law, and the thing of today is impeachment. What has happened, for those who didn't understand, that one of the ways to remove Trump was to have the Vice President Pence invoke the 25th Amendment, which basically says if a president cannot really kind of do his or her job, the vice president has to take over, but the vice president has to invoke it, and he didn't, and he refused to do that. So now it's going on an impeachment. Impeachment, basically, though, it works in two parts. First part, the House of Representatives basically vote on that, and they decide if there will be an impeachment. And then the trial itself for impeachment is actually done by the Senate. And now, by tomorrow, probably this will go to the Senate. And let's see. It seems like Mitch McConnell, he said he might be agreeing to the impeachment of President Trump. So let's see how things are going to unfold. But definitely, there will be a lot of things happening in the next 1 week. So watch out and be careful, because one of the things that the FBI have said is that the federal buildings are going to be under attack. So avoid those places. You don't want to get in trouble, or you don't want to get hurt.
Yep.
So that's another the thing that will be a problem. And of course, all those things are, those guys are very anti-immigrants. So if people looking like us walking on the street, they might not be happy with it. So you need to be staying far from those as much as you can, and especially the capital of each place like Sacramento, stuff like that. So be careful. So now, having said that, we are going to see some major things happening, hopefully, after Biden takes power. He said the first 100 days we might not see anything, because it seems he's going to be very, very busy to fix a lot of immediate things that needs to be done. It is something like really, it is, we don't even know how things are going to unfold. Let's be honest. But one thing I know is that Biden will definitely make things a lot easier for us, for immigrants. But at the same time, he say he's not going to actually kind of allow this, because he's not going to take care of all the stuff at the same time. So the first 1 year, don't expect a lot of things to happen. We just have to be patient, and let's see how things unfold. So now, we were talking, of course, about the H-1B earlier, those changes, and I'm going to discuss in more details next week about that. But one of the things that a lot of people are calling me about are the delays in getting the work permit, for example. Even the receipts, for those who have filed, a lot of people who have filed their adjustment of status under those new dates that came out, who basically downgraded, etc., a lot of people have not gotten the receipt yet, and many of them are getting worried. But the truth is that it's not only you. We are talking about so many things happening in America. I think the USCIS is also going to have issues basically kind of operating in the next few days. So you have to really kind of bear with them. At the same time, we have the pandemic, etc. Now, one of the things that we are seeing a lot, people who are applying for STEM extension under the OPT, their cases are getting delayed. So what happens is that if you apply for a STEM extension, you can continue working for next 180 days after the expiry of the first OPT. I repeat that. You can continue working. That's the rule. And in fact, some people are not even getting it in 180 days. So when they're calling USCIS, their answer is that, hey, just continue working. If there's a problem, and then we can't give you anything, unfortunately, but continue working, which is kind of a little bit not something normal for USCIS to say, but it seems they're acknowledging that a lot of the problems are coming from their side, which is definitely the situation, and those are the kind of stuff probably Biden will unlock and make things a lot more smooth for people. Now, the other thing that we are seeing, of course, lots of layoffs. At the same time, a lot of hiring, too. So a lot of people who are getting laid off are worried about changing their status from one company to another. So just to let you know and to remind you, you have 60 days of grace period if you are being terminated to do a transfer. Once you pass that 60 days, you can still go ahead and file to move to another company, but the case will probably go as consular processing. That means after approval, you have to leave the country, get a stamp, and come back. And if you already have a stamp on your passport, you can use the same stamp. But if you don't, you need to go and get one and come back. So those are the few things I have noticed that are happening, and I'm kind of covering that. Anything on your side you want to discuss, Ira?
No, I don't really have any question to ask you, but I would like to remind our listeners that if they have any questions, they can call in and speak to you. Listeners, we definitely have about 30 minutes to go. You can call us. In fact, rather 35 minutes. आप फोन कर सकते हैं. फोन कीजिए 510-657-1170 पर. That's 510-657-1170. That's the studio number. You can call and ask any question about your immigration question, immigration case, employment based immigration. इतने सारे रूल्स चेंज होते रहते हैं, कंफ्यूजन होती है कई बार. आप जरूर बात कीजिए अटॉर्नी शापिर अली से शो के दौरान, या फिर शो के बाद उन्हें फोन कीजिए उनके ऑफिस नंबर पर 510-742-5887. That's 510-742-5887. Yes, let's continue.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ara. And for those who need help on the immigration case, whether it's an H-1B, whether adjustment of status, whether it is family petitions, marriage petitions, feel free to reach out to us, 510-742-5887. And just to let people know, a lot of people have called me and they got confused. They think adjustment of status has been stopped. No, it has not been stopped. There are stuff that are happening. They are shifting cases from one location to another, but they have not stopped it. So don't get confused on that, because I think someone wrote that they have stopped adjustments of status. They have not. So be assured on that one. Now, the other thing that I am getting really kind of a frequently asked question from people calling me is the extension of their parents' visitor visa mostly. As you know, people who came to the United States around December 2019 got, for example, before December, let's say they came around October, they got 6 months, so it went to April, and we were in the peak of the pandemic. Well, still at the peak of the pandemic, but it was new to all of us. So the advice for the USCIS was to file an extension based on that. And based on that extension, we have been able to. Some people have been able to do that. It is unfortunately we are seeing a situation where many people are stuck now because they file an extension around April, and usually they give you 6 months. So 6 months from April makes it around September, if I'm not mistaken. So. And they have not even gotten a receipt, not even gotten a fingerprint on this, and now they want to know what to do next. One of the things we have recommended in 2020 is to file for what we call another extension based on that, because the previous extension, even if it was granted, will be granted for 6 months, which makes it, in this scenario I gave, this example, goes to September. Now, the question a lot of people are asking me, is that the right approach? Well, the truth is that I don't have a precedence to relate to. This kind of situation never happened in the past, where cases are delayed for so long, while we have a situation where they need to make a decision for people to move forward. Now, the other issue that we are seeing, we are basically seeing a situation where now when they file for the extension and they have a pending extension, how do they do that? Well, you can request USCIS to do that based on extraordinary circumstances of the COVID, elderly people cannot travel, etc. But I'm just going to be honest with you, most of the time these don't get approved. But I'm hoping now, because of the situation of the pandemic, and plus we're going to have an administration which is more receptive, like Sharif was saying, the new director is a very good person, so we are hoping that this will allow us to get a chance. Now, the entire issue is, what is the best approach? The best approach is, of course, since there's no answer on the case, so that means nothing has been violated, it's better if your parents can leave and they can travel to go back to India and wait there, because if the second, if one of those extensions get denied, it automatically cancel out the visa on the passport, which is going to be a problem when they try to come next time. So it is going to be a big problem if you see suddenly you want to come back to the U.S., you go to the airline, they say your visa is no longer valid. Because by operation of law, if there's a denial of the extension of the B1, B2, and the first visa, the first status is already expired, it cancel out the visa stamp on the passport. So be careful on that. If in case you had a situation like that before you travel, you might want to check if your visa is still good. So that's one thing which is another frequently asked question that we're getting. Do we have a caller? I think yes. Oh no, I think it was earlier you mentioned that, right?
I did, yes. I actually wanted to ask, since we're already talking, and the previous caller also was asking about his H4, because anytime there's something happening with H1, we also get worried about the H4s, and especially EADs. So in the current administration, not really previous, in the current administration, we saw that H4 EAD, what it went through, all the ups and downs. What do you think is its future?
What do you mean, the EADs?
The H4 EADs, will it continue, or are there any going to be changes?
Oh yeah, you're talking about the H4 EAD.
H4 EAD, yes.
I thought you were talking about all the EADs.
No, H4
I think
EAD.
it will, because what has happened, if Trump didn't take it down, definitely Biden will not take it down, because this is one of the Obama legacy. And plus, the only thing that might be an issue is that actually they killed the case that Safe Job USA when they sued the Obama administration against the H4 EAD, because Trump said, "Oh, we're going to take it down. No need to go ahead on that." So they withdraw their case, which ultimately now H4 EAD is still there. They have not taken it away. So now I don't know if Safe Job USA will sue again, but ultimately Biden will fight, hopefully, because they're not going to let that go. Many companies are actually relying on those H4 EAD, especially in those tough times. So I doubt it will go away, but we'll have to wait and see. But there's a big chance it won't go away. Okay?
Okay.
So this is my take on it. I was a few years ago, I mentioned to a reporter, she asked me, will this go away? I said there's a big chance, because it looks like that's what the Trump administration said. But the Trump administration, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was asking you, since we're already talking about H4, do you also want to shed some light on the rights or the duties, not really duties, but what all rights do people have on H4 with EADs and also without EADs? What can they do, what can they not do, or should not do rather? Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a beautiful question, because that's something that a lot of people have been asking me, and I've never really kind of dedicated time on this.
Yeah, we do talk about H4s, we do talk about H1s and all those things, and H4 EAD is maximum that we usually talk about. But I was thinking if you just want to elaborate a little more on the H4 visa with or without EADs.
Yes, so first of all, the H4 EAD is a very powerful EAD. It's almost like a green card, I should call it, because you have a lot of rights. You have a right to work. You have a right not to work when you have it. Okay, first, before I even reach there, let me kind of distinguish. A lot of people just talk H4 EAD. H4 is one thing, the EAD is a second thing. These are two different things, right? The H4 has been here forever. The EAD is just a plus, right? So someone can have an H4 but don't have an EAD, but someone cannot have the EAD based on H4 without the H4. So for example, you cannot be an F1 and request for H4 EAD. So that's the way it works. So now the H4 EAD, like I said, is very powerful, because number one, unlike the H1, it's not dependent on a salary. Basically, there's no minimum wage salary or anything, well, except the regular one for everybody on federal or state that you have to be paid for, which makes it a lot more attractive to a lot of businesses. Number two, the H4 EAD allows you to pretty much, if you decide to work, you can work. If you decide not to work, you don't have to work. Number three, you can have multiple jobs. For example, you can be working for a big IT company in the morning, in the afternoon work for a consulting company, and again on the weekend work for McDonald's. I'm not going to say the word, but for a fast food company. So nothing is prevented in that. And the best part with H4 EAD, you can open your own business, and that's a lot of people on H4 EAD took advantage of that and did pretty well. And you can open your own business. The only drawback of the H4 EAD is that it depends on the H1.
True.
So the day the H1 is gone, the H4 will be gone too. And that's the problem with this. Now, we have a lot of other situations that we are seeing on H4 EAD recently, and we've seen this before. Not only H4 EAD and H4 itself, abused spouses. A lot of spouses get abused, and then they actually get, unfortunately, once the H1 is taken away, they lose their status too. So in those situations, they need to move to their own visa, like maybe a student visa or an H1B of their own. And also, if they've been abused physically, there are two options also available. Number one, you can go ahead and try to file for an EAD based on abuses, and you can also, if there's a police report on domestic violence, for example, you can go ahead and file for a U visa. A U visa is very powerful because it allows you to ultimately get a green card. So one of the things that I've noticed, a lot of people, when they get abused, they don't want to call the police because they feel bad. It's more like a community thing. It's more like they're scared. Whether it's a wife against husband, husband against wife, they won't do it. But you got to. Because if you do, like I have many situations say, I didn't want to call, he beat me up or she beat me up, and I didn't want to feel that, they go to jail. But the fact that you didn't protect yourself, you won't get any protection. So you have to not let this happen. Of course, try to work out your marriage. There are difficulties in every marriage, but if you are going to a point where you're getting beaten and things like that, you've been abused, you don't have to stay in it. So in the marriage, and in this case, stay or not, you might be eligible for the U visa. So to recap, for H4 EAD, you can do pretty much everything except voting, except things like that, but you are very, very free on the H4 EAD. I hope that answers your question.
It does, thank you. Now, what all visas can we transfer to from H4? Let's say if the H4 does not get renewed on time or something, then are we out of status? Are you, not allowed to work? What is the status then if your visa doesn't? Because, for example, because of COVID, there were so many delays. There are so many delays happening in the processing and everything. So when, let's say, H1 gets processed, and because of all the new additions of new rules, like let's say biometric and everything, H4 does not get processed or approved in time. Is the H4 holder, is the person out of status? What is their status? How does that work?
Okay, there are two things here. Number one, if a case is pending, an extension, for example, you're not out of status. What you are in is a period of authorized stay. What it means is a limbo situation where you're not in status, but you're not illegal either. So that allows you to stay as long as it was timely filed and there's no problem in the case, so you can continue staying on that. Now, EAD is a different ballgame. You won't get the EAD until the H4 is approved. And unfortunately, the H4 is taking some cases 15 months. If you're doing a change of status. But if you're leaving the country, getting a stamp and come back, it's going pretty fast. But we know the risk of traveling right now, and a lot of people are not willing to take that. So bottom line, you are eligible to get a work permit, but you got to wait on it. So that's where things stand for the H4 EAD. And of course, for those who have been in abusive relationship, they can get out of it, and of course, get into what we call another visa of their own, or basically give us a call at the office if you're in that situation. We can look into all the avenues to help you.
That's the best option. Listeners, to get expert help and to get expert advice, to let professionals handle it, because Attorney Shah and his team have been doing this for so long. They know what they're talking about. Get in touch with them. The number to call them is 510-742-5887. 510-742-5887, and the website is peerallylaw.com. That's PEERALLYLAW.com. Yes, let's continue. We have about 20 more minutes to go, so let's continue talking. If you have something specific to talk about, otherwise I'd like to ask you about COVID and travel.
No, go ahead. Please ask.
So, when we've been talking about visas and, expirations and the renewals, what happens if your visa is expired and, or your documents are not processed on time? Or, sometimes it happens that between current expiration and the next renewal, you have to leave the country for some time to reset the clock. There were things, at least I don't know how it is with the new rules. So if someone needs to do that, but then there are so many travel bans right now, you're not able to go to your home country, or with COVID restrictions people don't want to travel, how does that work then? How do people, what would be your suggestion to them?
Well, there are two things you can do. For one, try to travel somewhere safe. For example, in some places like Barbados and things like that, they don't have COVID, and they are allowing certain kind of stamping. I don't know if they're still allowing you, but
so you don't have to go to your home country?
Not always, depending on the situation. Some cases, if it is your renewal of H-1B, no, you don't have to. As long as the country where you're going to will allow you to do all the stuff there. For example, people will go to Canada, but Canada is not allowing people in. So the best, of course, is go to your home country. It makes things a lot easier. But the answer is no, you don't have to. Now, traveling on COVID, depending on the situation, how bad it is, you can go ahead in case you already kind of lapse out of status, you need to come back. You can try what we call a non-pro-tung. Non-pro-tung, pronouncing itself is funny. It's also known as an NPT. It's a way to tell yes, hey, I was out of status. I want you to allow me to reinstate my status without having to leave the country. That's one option that is available. And of course, the other option is going to a third-party country. But ultimately, it's always good to go to your home country to get things done.
Okay. And what about all the people who are visiting here right now? Let's say parents, for example, or relatives who came here last year or even before that, let's say, and they were not able to travel back because of COVID. How long can you actually extend your stay just because you don't want to risk traveling in COVID because it's not absolutely essential?
Well, exactly. This is the problem. The problem I was discussing earlier. People who are on B1, B2, that's the visa, and they want to expand it. It is going to be a situation here. So what I recommend is, number one, file your first extension, which is already done. And if that person cannot travel at all, piggy ride on the pending extension, file another one. Okay. But from my experience, usually they get denied. But with the pandemic, I'm hoping that they will approve those cases.
Okay. So, right now you're saying that, okay, you can stay here, not really indefinitely, but for some time, as long as your extension application gets approved.
Yes, that's okay. If you have an extension pending, you fall into a category called a period of authorized stay, which means you can continue staying until the decision is made. But usually you cannot keep pushing that, because at one point they will deny you, but because of the pandemic they have not even answered on the previous applications. So it is better whenever you have this situation to go ahead and refile. Because of COVID, I've kind of lost my track here. So on the B1, we were talking about the B1, B2, but But the traveling on the COVID people can actually request the USCIS to do an exception for them. And when you file for the extension, you say, I have a pending B1, B2 extension. I want to file another B1, B2. Usually you can file an extension on a solid status, not a pending case. But because of the extraordinary circumstances, there are provisions under the law which allows someone to request the discretionary power of the USCIS to allow them to file a second extension. The problem with that is that it has not been tested in the past. And since it has not been tested, I don't know if it will work or not, because all the cases we have filed, we're still waiting for an answer. But it's there, you can try that. But the best solution is that if you are already a pending case and it's coming close to the 6th month, and talk to a lawyer, but it's better to leave and then come back at a later stage rather than kind of trying your luck and filing one extension over another extension. And I hope that answers your question, right?
Yes, thank you very much. Listeners, we have 15 more minutes, rather 14 more minutes to go. If you have any questions, you can also be a part of this show. Call us right now on 510-657-1170, and the office number for Attorney Shapir Ali and his team is 510-742-5887. The website is piralilaw.com. That's PEERALLYLAW.com for more information. Let's continue, Attorney Shah. What else would you like to talk about?
Well, of course, now we have all the situation. I just found out that someone just texted me when I was talking that it seems like they're not going to have the trial of decide on the Senate will not decide before Trump leaves on the impeachment. So they're trying to kind of run away from this, and that's going to be really irritating everybody. But at the same time, we were expecting them to find a solution that will not affect them, of course, in the eyes of Trump, and at the same time not say that, hey, they're supporting Trump. So just as a message, this is happening right now. But now all this stuff are going to affect us definitely, because more the U.S. become unstable, more we're going to see a lot of things happening in terms of enforcement, and that also means we're going to see a lot of situations where federal buildings will be closed. People are not going to go to work in the federal department, and that will slow down many cases. And just to let you know, there's a huge backlog that is going on and cases filed. And that was expected because of the COVID, but at the same time, because of the political climate Trump has put us in, he has made difficult everything that we see out there comes from the Trump administration, especially Stephen Miller. This guy is quote unquote the devil of the immigrants, right? He wrote those laws about separating children. He wrote all those laws you see anti-H-1B, and they're basically saying, oh, employers are abusing H-1Bs. And he also wrote a lot of all those difficult laws that were struck down by the courts, but he still wrote them, and he takes pleasure in doing that. That's what he says. So basically for him, his kick is getting really kind of hurting immigrants, right? So that's kind of, and he's proud of it. So I don't know how things unfold in their head, but hopefully, and not hopefully, he's going to be gone soon, and hopefully he will also face criminal charges. So now, the reason I'm bringing that up, of course, is the fact that all the stuff that are being passed the last minute by Trump, we can barely keep up. Some lawyers are following and then suing, etc., etc. But unfortunately for us, we have so many cases to handle right now that I don't have time really to kind of work with that. So it is important that you understand that if you have any problem on immigration, talk to a good lawyer. It's very, very important, because many times people will speak to a lawyer and the lawyer will tell them something totally, I don't know how to explain that, totally out of the whole context, and then they will bring it to me and say, oh, he told me to do this and do that. Well, the truth is that there are certain things that you do will hurt you more than will help you. And many of the lawyers you speak to, unfortunately, they don't have that much experience with difficult cases. For us, we pretty much handle a lot of those difficult cases. So it works out, and we can give you those specific answers. So bottom line, it is something major now, especially when you have a case, to at least have a consultation with the lawyer. So anything else specific you wanted to talk about, Ira, or I should continue?
You could continue, because this is great information, and with all those changes which are happening right now, it's not really that easy for us to understand, but you can understand better and explain it to us. So please continue by all means.
Yes, indeed, because there are a lot of things that are happening, and one thing I always say, it's not about knowing the trade. You also have to know the tricks of the trade, right? And when I mean tricks here, it doesn't mean illegal tricks. I mean finding solutions, because when people come to me, they don't want me to recite the law to them, because anybody can recite the law by just reading it. But what they want to know is, what are the solutions? How do we deal with a situation when you have this problem and this problem, how it happens? Because if you don't have knowledge of all the laws that are related to one topic, you might end up having the person deported, and you won't be able to bring them back. So oftentimes when I do a consultation, I will have to merge like 3-4 laws together in order to give the answer. And people will tell me, where do I find that? I say, it's like 4-5 laws. You won't be able to it's not you won't, but it will take you some time to put this together and not miss any part of the puzzle. It is a puzzle because, for example, someone comes to me, he has an H-1B issues, and he's reaching his 6 years, and you don't have an I-140. What do they do next? So it is important to actually kind of make sure that things are done properly, especially in those tough times right now. Not because, of course, the Trump administration is making it harder, but even under Biden, he's going to enforce the rules, so you have to be careful and avoid getting yourself in trouble, not doing the right thing. So having the advice of an attorney who's experienced becomes very, very important in those cases. So it is one of the things that I always tell to the clients, if I don't know all those laws and combine them, able to put your facts in it, it's like basically I'm cooking food, putting the spices separately, putting the food separately, putting the oil separately, and not mixing them. You have to, because otherwise you won't be able to give an answer and find a solution for the person. And that's what basically people come to us for, to find the solution. So if you need help, just give us a call, and maybe I can give us the number, and we can. I think we have another 5 minutes, right?
We have another 7 minutes, actually, yes. And listeners, the office number which we keep telling you to call, because you can get expert advice, you can get professional help, especially when it's about immigration. You should really not do it yourself. Let the experts handle it. The number to call is 510-742-5887. 510-742-5887, and the website is peerallylaw.com. That's PEERALLYLAW.com. Log on to the website and see what all are the areas that Attorney Shah and his team can help you in. चाहे फैमिली लॉ है, चाहे वो इमिग्रेशन है, वो आपकी मदद कर सकते हैं. बात उनसे जरूर कीजिए. अभी के लिए अगर आपको कोई भी सवाल है, you can call us right now on 510-657-1170. Yes, Attorney Shah.
Yes, indeed, Ira. So we are talking, of course, about the issue with H-1B, but there are many other issues coming up. For example, people reaching the 6-year extension, the companies have not filed their labor certification or their perm labor certification, their I-140s, and they can't get the 6 years extension. One of the solution is to, if the company is not willing to file for your green card, like I had a client who called me, he has 2 years left on his H-1B, but the company saying that they cannot file the green card at this point, etc. You need to look into a national interest waiver, and that we discussed a lot about with Sharif, but it is important that you really kind of make sure that you look into all the avenues, because someone can come to me for an H-1B, and then while I ask the questions, I found out this person has been victims of some crime, and we get a U visa for them. Someone can come to us for a H-1B and then ultimately get married and they want a family petition. So it is a lot of things. Immigration in itself is very complicated, unfortunately, just like tax law, but they do that on purpose for whatever reason. But at the same time, you don't want to just take the law and try to plug it in and then leave things like that. So I highly recommend that you talk to an experienced lawyer before you make, especially when you have a decision where you have to leave the country, etc., etc. Now, having said that, now let us recap. I think we have another, 4 minutes to go?
And now we have 5 minutes, yeah.
5 minutes, okay. So
yes.
Let's kind of recap. We were talking about the H-1B situation where things are very, very different now with this new rule. Basically, the lottery is kind of eliminated, but they're going to give priorities to those with the highest salary. So, but I'm going to talk more about that next week, because I have not dissected actually the entire law on that. I apologize for that, but hopefully by next week we'll have that. And of course, now the other thing that a lot of people have in their mind right now is, of course, that impeachment. This is really kind of a very stressful situation. The House of Representatives already voted for the impeachment. Now the case has to go to trial. And from what I'm hearing, that there will be no Senate. The Senate is basically going to be doing the trial. So it's very, very kind of a volatile situation that we have right now. So we need to make sure that things are done properly, and you don't really kind of you don't really have a situation where anything is clear-cut. Like back in the days, we'll say, this happens, we do this. Right now, we are in a situation where there's no black or white answer anymore. Everything is blurry, so having a lawyer by your side makes a big difference. Now, going back to, I've been talking a lot about employment-based, but we also do family-based petitions. We do marriage petitions, parents petitions, siblings. We also do U visas. We do a bunch of other parts of immigration, of course, because immigration itself is vast, is very, very big, and we need to really kind of focus on certain areas because nobody knows it all. But at least the lawyer has to have knowledge what is going on, not just basically throwing things and hoping it will stick. So this is not the way to approach a case. And although many of Trump's lawyers did that, in our case, we are seeing basically a situation where a lot of things are going to happen in the next 100 days. So if you have a case to file and there's no urgency, better to file after the inauguration, because hopefully we'll have new directors, etc., and new rules. But having said that, even you file now, by the time it gets processed, it will be the new direction. New director at the USCIS, and of course a new president, hopefully again. I'm going to say hopefully again, okay? I know you're laughing.
You know, before I could say, why you saying hopefully? Because every time you say hopefully, like we have exactly 1 week and you still saying hopefully. I don't know why.
Yeah, because, well, last time I told you that he's going to try a coup, and he did. So he's going to try another one, definitely, because that's what he's doing right now. But the good thing is that they took his Twitter away, they took his Facebook away, and I heard YouTube also is taking it away. And this is the same happening for Rush Limbaugh and all those crazy people, and I'm happy about that. So now again, ladies and gentlemen, this is again Attorney Chaparali, and we are almost done with the show, right, Ara?
Yes, we are.
So I wanted to thank all the listeners, and last week we said Happy New Year, but I'll say Happy New Year again. Hopefully this year will bring a lot of good things. It has already started with good and bad things at the same time, but hopefully we are going to see some good changes on our side. The H-1B, we'll need to dissect that for next week. And again, everything I told you today is my opinion. You should not act or refrain to act solely on the information provided. You should contact an attorney if you have any questions. You can check our website, piralilaw.com, like my last name, L-A-W after that, and then you put .com. Or you can also call us at the office, 510-742-5887. 510-742-5887. Thank you so much, Ira. Take care. We'll be back next week, same time.
Thank you, Attorney Shah. Thank you for being here and explaining all these things so well. And thank you, listeners, for being here and listening to this show, for being tuned in. Remember that you can get in touch with Attorney Shah Pirali on his office number 510-742-5887. That's 510-742-5887. His website is piralilaw.com. That's PEERALLYLAW.com. Remember कि ऑफिसेज हैं न्यूयॉर्क में, सैन फ्रांसिस्को में और वाशिंगटन डीसी में. तो आप कहीं भी हैं ईस्ट कोस्ट पे या वेस्ट कोस्ट पे, आपको अटॉर्नी शाह पिराली की टीम हेल्प कर सकती है. एम्प्लॉयमेंट बेस्ड इमिग्रेशन, खास करके अगर आपका कोई केस है आपका, तो आप उनसे जरूर बात करें एंड गेट प्रोफेशनल हेल्प. ही विल बी बैक हियर नेक्स्ट वेडनेसडे 10 AM to 11 AM के बीच में. यू स्टे ट्यून्ड एंड हैव अ ब्यूटीफुल डे.